I'm here to talk about it. Tom Brady's retirement. This is big. This is huge, obviously. He's the greatest football player of all time, no questions asked. If he ever and, like, people who try to argue the fact that Tom Brady is not the GOAT, you're wrong. You're fundamentally wrong. All the statistics prove you otherwise. Like, I don't think people should be wasting their breath trying to say that there's some other quarterback. Maybe Mahomes will beat him one day, but, that's still a long, long career off. Like, Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowl rings. He broken many passing yard records, passing touchdown records with both the Patriots and the Bucks. Has led both franchises to Super Bowls. Like, I don't understand what to tell you. This man very much is the greatest player of all time. I think that's pretty sad that he is leaving. And like it is, any great player that leaves a sport and who leaves a mark on a sport, it's sad when they leave. It's going to be hella sad when Steph Curry retires one day. I hope it's not for another 15 years, but it's coming sooner rather than later. I And I think, like, when the greatest player of all time leaves a game, it changes the way that the way the league runs, and I think this is going to be one it's gonna be very interesting to see how the NFL kind of goes without Tom Brady. I think they're in great hands because, you know, they have some great quarterbacks and young quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, like, Lamar Jackson. Hopefully Trey Lance, they have some great young quarterbacks in the wings waiting and playing some really good football. So I don't think it's gonna like the missing of Tom Brady is just gonna like immediately impact the league, but I think it's gonna be there. I mean, he was kind of the last quarterback in the pocket passer era of football, if you think about it, right? No, I mean Roethlisberger retired. He was kind of in that era. Both Manning brothers are gone. Philip Rivers, Drew Brees, like all of the main like the Brady kind of group, that squad that dominated the squad of like 8 quarterbacks that dominated the league for years is all gone. Tom Brady was the last one standing. Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, was a shell of himself to begin with. So I don't even think we could say that he was standing literally at the end of his run. But I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this whole how Tom Brady's impact on football is seen in the future. Because I think like his style of quarterback is very much dying. You look at the quarterbacks you see today, all of the younger quarterbacks, the Josh Allen, the Patrick Mahomes. They're guys who are good pocket passers, but they get outside the pocket. I think Tom Brady was just one of the best pocket passers of all time. I mean, the best pocket passer of all time because look at him, he's elite. He's the greatest player of all time. He's won 7 Super Bowls. He's the greatest. He's the greatest pocket passer of all time, and that era of football, I think, in my opinion, is very much dying. And if you want to be a successful quarterback in today's NFL, you need to run outside the pocket. Look what happened with the 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo is a good pocket passer. He's not bad. He's a B plus pocket passer. But in a league where the pass rushers are coming faster than ever before, in a league where pockets are closing quicker than ever before, and you need to make a quick decision. You need to have a quarterback who can have legs to move outside the pocket. And Tom Brady was really one of the last people in that old school era of like a drop back pass game where you could sit back in the pocket and drop back. Tom Brady was the best at that. He was the best at picking his spots, picking his receivers, and you know going with it. He was great at that. In terms of my personal relationship with Tom Brady, like I never loved Brady, but I didn't hate him. I know people who absolutely adore Tom Brady, uh, and I respect the hell out of them for that. I respect the hell out of them for being Tom Brady fans. That's awesome. But I think if you are not a sports fan, if you are a sports fan, sorry, you have to respect the absolute greatness that this man gave to football. I mean, he won 7 Super Bowls. He's the greatest player of all time. He did it on multiple teams. Like he answered every possible question you could ask him to. There's no debate in my mind that Tom Brady is not the and I think what's interesting about Tom Brady and what I've noticed with this particular generation of Gen Z, like my generation of kids, is that people really tend to judge. Like when I posted, I remember this very, very clearly last year. I posted a little infographic, or not an infographic, just a picture of like Tom Brady showing his 7 rings on some Bleacher Report shit, and I posted it, And I got several DMs from people basically saying like, Tom Brady's a Trump supporter. You can't support him, Anuj. You can't be saying that stuff." I'm like, "The fuck? Like, really? Are we really gonna go there?" Like, people are judging this man's athletic accomplishments based on his political leanings. Like, dude, you can support whoever the hell you wanna support. Aaron Rodgers is an anti-vaxxer, right? But that doesn't take away from the fact he's a great quarterback. Tom Brady is a sure, maybe had lunch or hung out with Robert Kraft and Donald Trump and all of this stuff, but that doesn't not make him the greatest quarterback of all time. I I really like, it is shocking to me that in this generation, we have people that judge athletes based on political correctness, based on political judgments that they make. Athletes, in my opinion, I think when it comes to their accomplishments, should not be judged for who they are off the field, but who they are on the field. I mean, look at Ray Lewis, bro. This man literally like murdered someone, and probably unproven, but everyone knows that it happened. It's like the biggest unsaid in the NFL. This man like murdered someone in 2002, but people still widely consider him to be the greatest, like one of the greatest linebackers of all time, right? Ben Roethlisberger went on to have a great career, but he's had like 18 sexual assault lawsuits on him. Like, people have done much worse, and people are like, "Thank you," to these athletes. But it's just like, I don't know, the big ones in the mainstream tend to just like Tom Brady being a Trump supporter means nothing. Honestly, like he could support Donald Trump all I want. And it's not even proven. I don't even think like he does. Like it was one time he was wearing a MAGA hat back like during 2015, right? And like that's the extent of the proof that Tom Brady is a Trump supporter. Like he's the greatest athlete of all time. I don't care. It doesn't matter, or not greatest athlete, the greatest football player of all time. The goat of football, because of the fact that he's had these tremendous accomplishments. And like I said, I kind of hinted at this in the last sentence. Like, do I consider Tom Brady to be the greatest athlete of all time? No, no. I honestly I don't. Um, who do I consider to be the greatest athlete of all time? Well, the guy who won the Australian Open this past weekend, Rafael Nadal. He's accomplished so much. Like football is a team sport, whether you like it or not, and that makes me look at athletes in a different light. Tom Brady has had a fantastic career. Don't get me wrong; he's the greatest football player of all time. But is he the greatest athlete of all time? Look at tennis players. Look at boxers. Look at basketball players. Like I think there are better athletes than Tom Brady, if that makes sense. But I don't think there's a better football player than Tom Brady, in my opinion, in terms of like Super Bowl rings, etc., etc. So statistically, I think he leads in those categories. But I think like in Tom Brady's retirement saga, it's kind of crazy, right? Because like the way this whole thing went down, like, still shocks Adam Schefter. I don't like Adam Schefter. I've realized, like, Adam Schefter just continues to lose my respect thoroughly throughout time. I mean, he had the thing with Aaron Rodgers and the Niners and, during draft day earlier this year. He's just kind of one of these weird stooge journalists that really just I mean, he kinda, like, bugs me, honestly. Like, he he reports information at specific times to, like, really, get people riled up. And like I get it, like and that's a very effective strategy to use, particularly in the social media era that we live in today. But like, I don't know, dude. Adam Schefter's a little whack. I mean, when he said it, like I knew something was going to happen, something monumentally with Tom Brady was gonna happen. But when sports reporters and like I know Kylan Mills like, interviewed Tom Brady's dad and said like he's not even decided, like let's relax, let's chill. I feel like what it ended up being was like Adam Schefter kind of just like dug into Tom Brady's personal decision of retirement and said like he's going to retire. That is the final decision, and I'm going to report it before he can. And then, like, in reality, the thing is, I think Tom Brady just wanted to go out on his own terms. And I respect that. You're the greatest player in your sport. I would want to announce my retirement by myself. Retirement is an extremely personal, intimate decision, right? You probably only share that information with like five people, which I mean, I think with Tom Brady right now, he's probably questioning like who the hell like, you know, leaked that information to Adam Schefter, right? Like, and even made that news, go to the fans before I wanted it to. Um, yeah, I mean, I think this whole Brady situation, like, yes, Adam Schefter was correct, right? He reported it 3 days ago and said that Brady was retired, but it kind of makes him look like an ass. Like, it really makes him look very, very stupid. Like, dude, I mean, Like, why would you I just maybe I look at retirement very differently than other people do, but I think retirement, like I said, is a very personal decision. Like, I feel like NFL insiders should not be, like, trying to, like, stooge out information from, like, personal people to try and get ahead in the journalism game. Like, Schefter Schefter is kind of like Schefter is literally, like, what he reminded me of in this situation, he's like Gossip Girl. Adam Schefter is the Gossip Girl of the NFL. He's like, "Oh my god, I need to find out the information before everybody else does so I can leak it to the internet before everybody is." He's not a fucking journalist. Adam Schefter doesn't actually go through and write articles and talk about different perspectives of teams and football and all of that. He doesn't give a fuck. Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, even Shams Charania and Adrian Wojnarowski in basketball, all to an extent are the gossip girls of their various industry. They don't give a shit about the players. All they care about is getting the information first so that they can report it to the masses. It doesn't really seem like they care about the sport or they care about the inner workings of it. They just care about finding out information quicker than everybody else, and everybody follows them because they get the information the fastest. Any league-wide news that's important, they are the ones that report it the quickest. And it's sad that society has kind of trickled and attracted themselves to these freaking like the Rappaports and the Schefters of the world. And I'm not saying they're bad people in real life. I'm sure they're fine, but like in terms of what they do, it's really like I've really questioned the ethics. I think of Adam Schefter and Adrian Wojnarowski and all of these guys because they really just seem like the various gossip girls of the NFL. Just people, NFL and the NBA respectively, just people who just report shit. Um, they just try to get the information as fast as possible. Like insider is a code word for fucking gossip, and I don't really like that. I'm not a big fan. Um, of like, digging it, particularly when it's like players' personal shit. Like Adam Schefter has been caught multiple times just like pulling stunts like this. Um, I don't less or so for Wojnarowski and Charania, but I think Schefter and Rappaport in particular are very, very snooty. And it comes off like that if they're reporting as well. And I've seen it. So definitely something to keep a watch out on. Keep a watch out on with these two for sure. Those are our two sports topics for the day. So if you guys were not interested in that, I totally apologize. But a lot has been going on in the NFL. My Niners did lose, and I don't want to acknowledge that. So we're not going to talk about that. So I talked about the two other big headlines that happened here in the past week, which was Brian Flores, and then obviously Tom Brady retiring. My personal thing for Tom Brady is like, dude, I mean, I have nothing but respect for the guy. 7 rings, incredible career. Went out on top. He's 44 and he was considered to be an MVP candidate. Yes, did he lose to Detroit? Or sorry, not Detroit. I keep thinking Stafford's at Detroit. Did he lose to LA? Yeah, but also, like, he was down 27-3, basically tied the game, came all the way back, and came within, a few seconds of winning the game. And it was his defense that lost the game, if we're going to be honest. They put him down that score. They put him in that hole. He came back from that hole, and it was his defense that lost the game with that safety miscommunication in the last play of the game. But we're not going to get into any football right now because that's not the point. We have a lot of pop culture shit